and leaders in the community, allowing the audience to peek behind the curtain of what inspires, motivates, drives these individuals to have meaningful, positive impact in this community. For more information about the show, log into irlonestar.com/TBPTX.
Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com. You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCCW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide at irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Schissler. I'm your host today of the Weekly Business Hour. I think we've got a great show lined up for you and appreciate you joining us. Today we're broadcasting from the studios of Lone Star Community Radio, which is located in Conroe, Texas, one of the fastest growing cities in the country. The Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County and now businesses throughout the world come to talk about the latest in business ideas to improve your business, and to be part of conversations that can make a real difference in your business. Reminding you, we're currently live on Facebook and YouTube, so if you want to watch as well as listen, go to one of those services and look for the Weekly Business Hour page. Click on it, and you can watch as well as listen. And a reminder, if you've got any kind of questions, comments, an idea for a show, or a business question for your business, because we do the mailbag segment, and I'd love to hear what's going on out there in people's businesses and try to help if we can. Send that email to that's the number 1, bestconsult@gmail.com. bestconsult@gmail.com. Well, let's get right to it. I think we've got a lot to go over today, and I want to make sure we try to cover as much as we can. So let's turn to our conversation with our special guest today. Mr. Tim Johnson is joining us. He's currently the general manager for the Lake 94.1, which covers Lake Conroe area, and also FM 101.7 KSAM, which is a Huntsville, legacy? The station's been around for a while, hasn't it?
Sneaking up on 100 years, yes.
See, that's amazing. A radio station, ladies and gentlemen. I guess I've never thought of that. 100 years.
Yes.
A long, long time. Tim, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, you've got a unique background and history, and if you just kind of give the folks as a way of introducing you to our audience, kind of a background on what you've done and how you came to be involved in radio.
Well, thank you. I'm a lifelong broadcaster. I started at 18 while I was still in high school at a local radio station in a small town, Rockford, Illinois, outside Chicago, and fell in love with it, changed my career path, went to Southern Illinois University to get my degree, a Bachelor of Science in radio television. From there, went and worked in television for a while back in my hometown, then got a job in radio, so I was working television and radio, and then chased a girl to Indianapolis, where I joined WZPL, a top 40 radio station. They changed my name to Tim Fox with 2 X's. I'm not sure why the second one, but nonetheless. Took over promotions and marketing for that station, had tremendous success. Went from there to Atlanta, Georgia, working for Roy Disney, Walt's nephew, a company called Shamrock. And we had a little FM radio station called The Fox, and took that to new heights, both in ratings and revenue. And I should say the team did. It wasn't me personally. It was a great, talented team of people that I'm still in touch with. Spent 7 years there, got an opportunity to go to Boston and join CBS Radio at WODS in Boston. I did 11 free concerts in City Hall Plaza over 12 weeks, nearly killed me. And after my second winter, I realized I no longer belong in the North, and took a job back in Atlanta for the Olympics, working for WGST and WPCH. At the time, it was owned by a company called J-Corps, which turned into Clear Channel, which is now iHeart. And my general manager's name was John Hogan. may recognize that name. He ended up being CEO of Clear Channel Media for a number of years. Anyway, from there I got a phone call from some people I worked with here in Houston, or I should say south of us in Houston, and they brought me over for KLDE, oldie station, where I spent a couple years, 3 years. During that time, consolidation took place, and before I knew it, I was running KLDE, marketing and promotions, Sunny 99.1, and then 93Q. Then I got the phone call that I've always dreamed of, which was a chance to go back to Chicago and work in Chicago radio, where I was the marketing director for WLS Radio, the Big 89, one of the legendary radio stations in the country that got me started and passionate about radio. I did that for a while, and then I got a phone call from Clear Channel University about an opportunity to do something completely different, which was build a centralized resource for 180 markets, over 800 radio stations, both for sales and programming and operations. So I had a team of 12 people working in Houston and in Tampa, where we built out this intranet, is what they call it, to tremendous success. Then I got a phone call from Disney, and I love working for Disney. They really call you cast members, you're not an employee. And they asked me if I'd be interested in running the Radio Disney station, KMIC in Houston. So I did that, loved that, had tremendous success, and then our friends at the Mouse decided to get out of the radio business, and they sold all 24 radio stations across the country, including mine. So I had a nice check with a Mouse on it, and it gave me a chance to catch my breath. And I was called by CBS Radio Houston and went to them for a little over a year before they were sold again. I joined an ad agency, Mosier Media, one of the top 20 ad agencies in Houston, as a number of different roles, from everything from voice and writing to sales, and we produced the Tom Tynan Show, if you're familiar with that, home show radio. Did that for 3.5 years, and I was having dinner with one of the owners of the Huntsville stations, and he asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, well, if you ever get the opportunity and you have an opening for a general manager, please consider me. That's all I ask. The next day he got up, drove his rental car up to Huntsville, and the general manager gave notice that day. And so I got the phone call, were you serious? And after doing some research, I said, yes, I am. So I've been there since July of 2021.
Boy, I'm out of breath trying to follow you around the country. What a tremendous voyage you've been on, if you will. I mean, just all over the country, working for, sounds like some really great businesses.
Yes.
And I would say I would think that you really are entitled to be called Mr. Radio. I mean, you have worked in all aspects of radio, it sounds like.
I have. I've been blessed. It's been a fabulous career. I have thousands of stories most people wouldn't believe, but more importantly, in what I did, which is promotions and marketing, for you to get a raise, you had to go to another station, and if you were already one of the most expensive people doing what you do in that city, the only way to get a raise was to go to another city. So that was pretty much my career choice. I like living in different parts of the country. We live in an amazing country that is very unique to different parts. Quick example, where I grew up in the Midwest, if you asked a bunch of people what is the Great War, they would say World War II, right? That's the Great War.
Right.
In New England, Boston, what's the Great War? War of Independence. Yeah. In Atlanta, Georgia, what do you think the Great War is?
I would think the Civil War.
Well, they would correct you because they call it the War of Northern Aggression.
Yeah. There you go. You're exactly right.
And now here in Texas, what was the Great War?
Well, I would say the Revolution, the Texas Revolution.
Santa Ana, exactly. So one topic, completely different answers depending on which region of the country you're in. And the same is true for everything from soft drinks, whether it's a Coke, a pop, a soda, Dr. Pepper. Each region has its own personality, and moving around gives you kind of an opportunity to experience that, which I would highly suggest travel because we live in an amazing country.
Well, I 100% agree with you. I'd love to travel. I've been in, 49 of the 50 states. Alaska's still on the board, but we'll get there eventually. So, yeah, there's a lot to learn out there, and I'm glad you pointed it out. I wish more people, including the business owners and folks in small business, would consider that, because I think having that information, that knowledge, and a sense of what this country's about makes you better in what you do on a day-to-day basis as a business owner, personally, et cetera. So that's a great point you've made. Well, you made the round. You ended up back in Chicago, where you say you received your initial inspiration. Now you're working in Montgomery County, Walker County, bringing radio to all of us here in the public. What is the objective of you as far as your station? What is your market? What are you trying to do with the multiple stations that you put together?
That's a great question. Let's focus on each one individually. KSAM, as you pointed out, legendary radio station. That's where Dan Rather got his start in radio before he moved on to television and books and everything else he's done. We have applied and received approval on a construction permit. So over the next couple of years, we will be upgrading that signal, both the transmitter and strength and antenna, so that we will be covering more and more of Montgomery County. So you can look ahead and see that, and the format is country, both current country along with favorites. So you'll have that kind of option in the marketplace. Currently, we're the voice of the Bearcats and the official voice of the Huntsville Hornets. Currently, we're in talks and conversation with Willis to become their partner for their sports teams. So you'll see that develop as we move. The other station, which I'm very excited about, as you pointed out, was the Lake, which is 94.1 down here in Montgomery County. And that was a station playing predominantly 60s and 70s when I got here. And I saw an opportunity to make a positive change. So we relaunched it April 2nd, because we didn't want to be April Fools. April 2nd as the Lake. And the Lake plays the best of the 80s and 90s. And you may wonder, why is that different? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, if you were born in 1960, well, let's start with every generation believes that the music they grew up with in high school and college is the best music ever.
Absolutely.
And that's great. But if you're listening to 60s music and that's the best music ever recorded, you're probably late 60s or 70s years old. And nothing wrong with that. I wish you great health, but you're obviously not spending the money like you used to in your 40s and 50s. You don't have the needs that you had when you had kids in the house. You don't have the extra car and those kind of issues. So by evolving the music and changing it into 80s and 90s, we're now reaching people between 35 and 59, which are those dual income, kids in the house. And anybody who has children know that you're basically an ATM, right? You're just handing out money. So it attracts a different audience, and it also attracts a different type of advertiser. People that are trying to reach homeowners, people that trying to reach that affluent demographic that is spending money a lot, and we're having tremendous success with it. The imaging is the lake, and that's not Lake Conroe. That's not Elkins Lake. That is actually that personal experience you had growing up. And I think most of us agree our best memories of growing up were at the lake, whether it's water skiing, camping, fishing, etc. Those are just great memories. So you take the great memories of the music with the great memories of the lake, put that together, and that's the radio station that we have. We are extremely community oriented. It's just a personal thing. I've done this throughout my career, is to find out where the needs are in the community, and then and use the power of radio and social media, et cetera, to try to solve them, try to help out organizations, whether it's the March of Dimes, American Red Cross, or the Safe House, or other organizations like that. We are building those relationships right now in Montgomery County. I would say if you have a need, if you're part of a nonprofit organization and you have a need, please reach out to us. Send me an email, tim@hehradio.com. We're looking for people like you to make a difference. That's a true commitment, my commitment, the commitment of the owners who live in Georgia, that we are a part of the community. And the opportunity, what makes us different than those big stations south of us, is that we want to be integral with the community. That's why we do sports. That's why we have a news director that does local news. He'll be talking about the elections in Montgomery and Harris County tomorrow. That's why we do the support of the nonprofits. because we want to be where you go to get the news and the information in your community. We all visit Houston. We all know what there's plenty to do down there, but there's plenty to do up here too. Conroe is a vibrant community, and how do you get all that information? One way, of course, is the newspaper. The Courier does a great job. Another is the radio station, and we're trying to be that source and building the bridges down here. Did that answer your question?
You sure did. In fact, you provided to the listener an education about radio, but you also, and I hope our listeners pick this up, Tim is kind of walking you through what his business is doing, but a lot of information there indirectly of how they can do a better job in their business, basically building their market. You did. I could spend an hour and pull things out and say, okay, you've got a carpentry business or you've got a plumbing business, and show how what you just offered would be applicable to them as well. So I think it's a great primer, if nothing else. Well, you've had a tremendous background. You're building, it sounds like a great radio, can't say station. What do you call it? You have two stations. So do you conglomerate? What do you call that?
I call them brands. They really are brands.
So you have two brands that you're working with.
And making the change in music, it's amazing how people come up to me and say, you're playing my music. You're playing my favorite music, because it's what they grew up with in high school and college. And there's a real attachment and passion for it. So the brand is the imagery around that, and the messaging and the storytelling. That's really what we provide.
Yeah.
Similar to what you do.
Yeah, that's what community radio is all about. Well, we've come up against our first break. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short break, and I hope that you'll stay with us, because I have a sense we're going to offer a lot more information and education about the business of radio. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Remember to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on your computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Did you know there are more than 790 abused and neglected children currently in foster care in Montgomery County? Will you help make a difference? I'm Allie Stevens with Casa Child Advocates of Montgomery County. We train and support volunteers to be the voice of children in the foster care system. Kids removed from their home because of abuse and neglect, and we need volunteers just like you to advocate for these children. To learn more about becoming an advocate, please visit CasaSpeaksForKids.com. That's CasaSpeaksForKids.com.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dance Time in Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floors. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and we're having what I consider a wonderful conversation with Mr. Tim Johnson. He's the general manager of a couple radio stations, which are, in his vernacular, brands here in the Montgomery and Walker County area. Just shared with us, I think, some wonderful plans about expanding that business and using the radio as one of the medias out there that are available to each of us who own businesses for purposes of marketing and advertising. And Tim, I'd like to pivot and just talk about the media out there. One of the things is small businesses tend to be just non-educated about where they should spend their marketing, advertising dollars. They hold back. It's one of the first things to get cut. That's kind of an expression in business. Let's cut the marketing, and it's misunderstood in my opinion, and it's a bad mistake. So let's talk about the media and perhaps measuring the effectiveness of media.
Well, let me start with a warning that the worst thing you can do is advertise a bad product. And right now, there's a really strong issue, and that's customer service. and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But I would highly suggest starting with a SWOT evaluation analysis of your business, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, and look at it, and possibly hire a professional to come in and go through the process with you. That's the best money you can spend, because we all live within our bubble. And if you can't see your business from the outside, from the customer's perspective, you're going to miss some stuff. And that could be some very important things. And advertising your product when it's not ready will shut some doors on you that you'll never get open again. So I would start with a SWOT analysis. But now let's talk a little bit about what has changed. COVID changed our world. There's no question about that. And in some ways in a good way, in some ways in a bad way, but it's definitely affected media more than most. And for instance, television. Television was a big part of mass communications, and the big advertisers, McDonald's, Budweiser, et cetera, would buy tons and tons of television. And during COVID, that was great because we were all trapped at home watching Tiger King, right? But the world has changed. We're not trapped at home anymore. And more importantly, we're no longer trapped on a clock. Television is when I have time for it. I can access anything anytime I want to. And here's the hard part of that is I can also fast forward past any commercial I want to. So a lot of marketers are shifting away. Even some Super Bowl advertisers who've been there for 20, 30 years are shifting away. Now, I would still say that live sports is one of the most efficient form of advertising you can do if the price is right, because you're not going to fast forward. You can't. And you don't want to be recording and being delayed because you want to know what's happening right now. So for all of us that watched the World Series last week, we were exposed to a lot of commercials, and we did it in real time. And that's great, but it's not true of other programming. So I would evaluate what kind of programming you're going to do in television, because if they can record it and watch it at their own convenience on demand, then your commercials may not be the right way to do that. There are now, through cable and some other elements like what you're building, a way to do more of a documentary presentation on the story of your business. I would highly suggest that, because you can reuse that in social media to tell your story. And that has great long value. You do it once and it can live for years for you. Billboards and outdoor I love billboards and outdoor. I've spent millions of dollars in billboards and outdoor, and it really works when you can keep it to 3 to 5 words. Anything over that, it's just noise. And when you're doing 65 or 75 or sometimes 90 up 45, you're not going to be able to absorb that message. So it just becomes noise out there. But look at the examples of Chick-fil-A with their cows. You know that's a Chick-fil-A billboard, and you know what they're selling you. Chicken. And the same is true with Buc-ee's. You know how many miles it is to the Buc-ee's, how clean their bathrooms are. So look at the masters of outdoor, and I would throw those two, and there's quite a few other ones too. But keep it short. Sell one of your strengths. Sell it strong, and think about multiple messages on different billboards. Print has changed. We all grew up with the newspaper and getting ink on our fingertips. Those days have changed considerably. Print is now in between digital messaging and the actual print messaging. Bright colors and video, whenever possible, are the ways to go. Eye is attracted to color. If you're doing black and white print right now, I'm not sure why. To me, if you're saving 10 cents for black and white, you're not using the medium efficiently and effectively. And then social media. Let's talk about that for a minute. Everyone talks about social media being the way to move. And there are ways to do it and do it well. But let's talk about what social media advertising really is. And it's an interruption. If you're looking to do a search and the ad pops up, it's interrupting your search. It's frustrating you. If you're watching videos and an ad pops up, what are you doing? You're frustrated. You're trying to get access to something. Even in your scroll on Facebook, which is still by far the largest audience out there on social media, and these ads keep rolling up with all your friends and messaging and pictures of your grandchildren or children, it's still an interruption. So I would counsel that if you're going to do social media, you be brief and be very compelling. Do something that's going to grab the eye, grab the ear, and pull them into your message, because you've interrupted their train of thought. You've interrupted why they came to social media. So you got to give them something very compelling. And then, of course, there's radio. And radio is still your companion piece. You can, unlike television, unlike social media, you can mow the yard and listen to radio. You can clean the garage and listen to radio. You can go for a jog and listen to radio. And that's compelling because it goes right into the brain. You don't have the visual elements, but you can paint the visual elements with words, and that's what great copywriters do. So radio is still efficient and effective. I often get the question, what about satellite? What about streaming? Is radio dead? And you look at the national numbers, and we're still reaching 82% of the audience in America every single week. Meanwhile, satellite is around 17 to 20%. So you can see that, yes, there is an audience for satellite. I'm glad they've got a business model for that. But if you want local, if you want to talk local news, local sports, local weather, radio is still a great companion piece. And the rules have changed a little bit. It used to be you could only buy 30s or 60 seconds. Now you can buy 10s or 15s. We do more of a long form business introduction. We do interviews and morning drive. It's a great place to tell your story. And if we can jump ahead a little bit, that's really what the future of marketing looks like. It used to be this screaming car dealer got all the attention. But I think we've all been yelled at enough over the last few years. We've all got our radar up for being oversold. And now the new direction that we're going is more about truth. We're all seeking truth. We've all been lied to. Now we're looking for truth. And if you got a real person telling a real story, that's compelling. So if you're going to do print, tell your story. Don't use stock photos. Use a picture of you or your family or your dog. That's what people are looking for, is that personal connectiveness. We've spent 2 years trapped behind masks and not being able to be in our social environment like we used to. And people are looking to reconnect again. And it's a terrific opportunity for a business to give the message out that, yes, we want to connect with you. We want to learn about you. We want to solve your problems. And I think whether that's print, direct mail, radio, television, that's the trend that most marketers are looking for. In fact, they call 2023 the year of the customer. That's kind of what's happening right now. Is it's all about the customer. They've learned they can go online and buy anything in the world and have it delivered right to their house. So why would they want to come down the street? Why would they want to get in their car and pay $3.50, $4 a gallon to come to your store? You have to give them a reason, and it's about the efficiency, the convenience, and knowledgeability, and the friendly service that your team provides. And that's what we're trying to do as a broadcast partner. And I think those that are successful, and I have to point at Gallery Furniture as a good example. You can barely get in the door that somebody's coming over to check on you, make sure you send you in the right direction, and ask you a couple questions to make sure that your time with them is efficient. And obviously, now they're saying in the commercials that they'll deliver the same day. So that's compelling. So look at those kind of models. That's where we're going. We're coming out of our cocoon, out of our homes, out from behind the masks. We want to re-engage with the world again, but we don't want to be ignored, and we don't want to have horrible customer service. And if you find yourself getting bad customer service, you're probably not going to go back.
You make a wonderful point, and you've made it several times throughout our conversation, is you put your advertising, your marketing out there, pick one or more mediums to present it. But if you're not delivering, like walking in the store, you're not delivering customer service in this case, or anything, or your product is late being delivered, to the customer. In other words, what you're selling is not what you can deliver. Mm-hmm. That's a huge disconnect. And right now, a lot of businesses are struggling because they have supply line issues and other things. Prices are going up. I mean, I hear some of the most interesting stories on a daily basis. How do I raise my prices? The cost of this has gone up. So you're being challenged But you got to be careful because, like you say, if you don't have it right at home base, so to speak, then don't advertise it. Don't go out and push people towards you because you'll lose them permanently. Let's talk with the remaining time we have about customer service because you mentioned this is the year of the customer. I 100% agree. And I also 100% agree that it's a tremendous opportunity for those businesses that will go in and execute on that concept of customer service. So what's your opinion or view on customer service and how to do it right?
Well, again, I would suggest starting with the SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and take a real hard look at what you're doing and what your staff, your team is doing. Once you do that, I think it gives you all the right directions to go in. But in the real world, what we've had is a 2-year gap in training on customer service. There's a whole generation, a lost generation that graduated from high school during COVID that never went to retail or to a restaurant, so they have no concept of what is true customer service. And you see them in stores. They're on their phone. They're not even making eye contact. They don't even acknowledge when you come in or when you leave. They're living in their world within their technology, and that's not customer service. That's what we're dealing with, a lost generation that needs to be trained. And unfortunately, I don't think our schools have been able to do that. They're just playing catch up as it is, and even our junior colleges. So it leaves it to the business owner to make the decision, I'm going to be different. I know this is a problem. I know my competitor isn't doing any training on customer service. So here's an opportunity for me to train my team and engage my team, excite my team, inspire my team to be the best at customer service. You do that, customers will come back over and over and over again. And it starts little things, handshake, eye contact, being engaged, all the way up to something more powerful like an incentive program that if a customer comes back the second time, you get a little bonus or something like that to make it worth your time as an employee. But there are some great resources on customer services through some local organizations, the Sam Houston State University Small Business Development Group. I would say seek those out or go online and look at some resources that may be available to you. There's a book I highly suggest called Traction, Get a Grip on Your Business. It will walk you through. It's by Gino Wickman. Walk you through the steps to provide great customer service. And it's if your employees care about you and care about your employees or care about your customers, the customer will come back over and over again. And that is what I'd say is the greatest challenge of 22-23 is getting your customer service in line with the customer's expectation. Remember, they can go on their phone, order something, it's delivered at the front door the next day. They don't need you for items, for merchandise. What they need you for is that personal connection. If they have an issue, if they have a problem, they know they can call you and that you're going to make it right. That if it's not the right color, they can come in and you can get it for them right there on the point. They can't do that with some of those big organizations. It's either return it or not. But with you, they can have the conversation of, this wasn't quite what I was expecting. This wasn't quite the right size, quite color. That's what you offer. That's that special service. Build those relationships. And all relationships start with trust. You trust people that are engaged with you. And if your employees aren't engaged, then you're not building that trust. In fact, you're tearing it down.
Yeah, it's all about engagement, relationship building at each step of the way, employees and customer. By the way, I second your recommendation on that book. It's a great book to read, not a hard read as far as technical or whatnot, and it's something I think every business owner to serve themselves and their business and their organization better should take a look at that book. Well, Tim, I can't thank you enough for taking time to visit with us today and offer some absolutely fantastic pearls of wisdom to our listeners. If people want to follow up and get in touch with you about what's going on in your radio station, how you may help them, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, thank you for that opportunity. And if you're thinking about a SWOT analysis, you don't know how to get started, give me a call. I can do a preliminary one or send you in the right direction to talk to somebody. My cell phone number is 713-857-0028, or you can email me at tim@hehradio.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you'll stick around for the second half of the show. We're going to go to the mailbag. Bill asked the question in a recent email. We, like every other business in America today, is having trouble hiring people. What are some ways that we can attract and retain good people? Now, this is a subject we tend to address a lot now, particularly since COVID. But we've got some unique ideas I want to share with you and my response to Bill about his issue. And then my tip of the week will be, how is your problem solving working out? Kind of an interesting approach to solving the problems that we all face, the challenges every day in our business. So I ask you, please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
A Lone Star Community Radio is ready for the summer. If you or anyone you know is looking for summer internship opportunities, a Lone Star Community Radio is a great place to grab the mic and be on the air. A Lone Star Community Radio offers a great opportunity to those interested in learning about the radio world all year round. Be an on-air personality, talk show producer, or YouTube, TV, podcast editor. Contact the station at info@irlonestar.com or call the station's message line at 936-647-3776.
Does your company have needs that can be met by an employee who is dependable, hardworking, enthusiastic, motivated, cooperative, respectful, and punctual? Conroe Independent School District Special Education Department can meet your needs by connecting you with potential employees that have been preparing for a lifetime of employment. We have numerous individuals seeking paid and unpaid work experiences. If your company is interested in seeing how we can meet your business needs, call Conroe ISD Special Education Department to find the best employees for you at 936-709-7671.
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show. With monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Hey y'all, it's DJ Mike from Dan Simon, Texas. Join me Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. as I count down the top 10 Texas Red Dirt songs that are packing the dance floors. I'll be featuring local artists and the story behind the hits, shows in the area, as well as new songs that make you want to dance. It's Dance Time in Texas with DJ Mike on Lone Star Community Radio, 104.5 KCZW and 106.1 KZCC, Conroe, Texas, or online, irlonestar.com.
Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler. I'm your host for the program. I'm also a Silver Fox advisor and the founder of OneBestConsult.com. Hope you caught that conversation that we just had with our friend Bill, who works for a couple radio stations. He's their general manager. He's got a lot of background in radio and a lot of background in marketing. And if you didn't hear that segment or heard just part of it, I encourage you. A couple days from now, the podcast of today's program will be posted in our pages throughout social media, Facebook, YouTube, and I encourage you to go to those sources, look for the Weekly Business Hour, and take a listen. And if you have an opportunity, obviously we would deeply appreciate it if you perhaps share the show. Also, another reminder that your business can sponsor the Weekly Business Hour. Our sponsors are the core of support that we get, not only with the Weekly Business Hour, but here at Lone Star Community Radio. It's a nonprofit organization, and as a sponsor, though, you're highlighted throughout the show. It's not a hard process to connect with. So if you have questions about it, just send me an email at onebestconsult.com. That's the number one, bestconsult.com. gmail.com. So let's go to the mailbag. Interesting question, but it's also one that just keeps coming up and up and up. People are looking for solutions about hiring and maintaining a quality workforce. It's a dream for every business, in good times or bad, to have a quality workforce. But now it is so difficult in most places throughout the United States to hire good people, to find people. I've heard stories upon stories. We put an ad out, we put the word out, we communicate through normal channels, and we get no response or very little response. And of course, trying to find quality people in that kind of labor market, very, very difficult. I want to talk, though, of some issues I don't think that have been discussed before. At least I've not seen them discussed. The first thing you need to do, similar to what Tim Johnson's, that Tim was sharing with us, is to do, in his case, a SWOT analysis. In other words, evaluate your business from several different angles. Well, the same thing is true about attracting people, finding good people, quality people. You need to make sure that your business is built and that it holds itself out. In other words, in a sense, advertises itself, markets itself as a good place to work. Yes, on one hand, we talked to Tim about marketing our business to attract customers. In this case, though, I'm talking about having a business that attracts potential employees. And at first blush, that may be kind of off-putting. I don't want to get into that. That's a little, all this kind of stuff. What do you do? It isn't. It's a critical issue today. I haven't met anybody in the last, 6-12 months that was having an easy time of hiring people, that was finding plenty of people. Yes, I've read some stories in the business media about various companies that have been able to find quality people, but it is a difficult task. So I think the first thing you do is make sure your business is a place people want to work. Now, that gets into a lot of different things, as far as, having a clean restroom, having working conditions that are safe, that are pleasant. It gets into your HR and the rules and your employee handbook. My encouragement to Bill, who sent this email in, is take a bit of time, and maybe with some help, do an audit of your business with the idea that you're going to look at the issues that make your business a place where quality people, want to work. Because today, people have a choice. They can find a job. If they're not happy with their working condition, they can just pick up and go get another job basically overnight. So it's even more important, in my opinion, today, that you build a business that attracts these quality people that you need. And the encouragement, just look how hard it is to attract people at all. And I guarantee you, if you'll do an audit and a review of your business, you will find opportunities. Look around, see what other businesses are doing. Look at businesses that you personally enjoy doing business. What is it that they do that you find so right? Okay? And all of it's typically more or less going to lead back to an employee or employees and their attitude to deliver that service that makes you feel good about doing business with that company. It's kind of connecting the dots. Customer service, so important, more important today than ever, as Tim and I discussed. So these things kind of touch a lot of bases. Very important to check your business and make sure you've made it the place for people wanting to work, because it will help you in many other areas if, in fact, you've maximized the attractiveness of your business. Second thing is, what is your return on investment? Now, ROI is something we talk about on this program from time to time. I think it's also something you can talk about as far as what you're paying people. Yes, I've got to pay this because that's what the market is. Well, that obviously is an important issue. But are you getting the return on investment of paying someone what you pay them and what they deliver for your business, whether it's service or building a product whatever kind of business you're in, are they doing the type of work that makes sense to pay them that much money? Again, I'm not trying to make the market aspect insignificant, because obviously it's important. But I think before you address that issue, you need to make sure that you're getting a return on the investment. That includes not just compensation, but the investment in that employee for training, benefits, all those other things. I have found in my history of owning businesses, working with businesses, when you sit down and even do an analysis on black and white, the dollars that you're spending on someone, people are typically amazed. Then and only then, once you realize those kind of numbers, can you evaluate whether you're getting a return on that investment in that employee. Potentially also in working groups or particular departments, however your business works. Make sure you're getting a positive, acceptable rate of return on your people. And third and lastly, I encourage you to have performance criteria. Communicate these with the employees. Have measures, preferably measures that are straightforward, black and white as I call them. In other words, you do X and it means this. They can be tied to compensation. That's fine. That's very normal, typical in what I've experienced. But I want to set up a line of communication with people, communicating my expectations, communicating the needs of the business beyond, hey, we need you here on time, need to put in a full day's work, stay the entire day, be ready, available. That's obviously important. And that's where I find most business owners, managers stop. What I'm talking about is make sure that each employee understands your expectations as far as production, productivity, communication with customers, whatever their particular job involves. And if you can come up with some measurements, then all the better, because then it takes some of the emotion out of it. Oh, I made a mistake yesterday, but all of 364 other days of the year, I did it perfect. I was great. So you take that off the table, and I think it's a lot more effective and reaches a lot more employees than just, well, I've noticed lately you're this or that. And what I'm talking about is a review, and I'm all for reviews, but I think they can take place, off the cuff, so to speak, passing in the hall, grabbing a cup of coffee with someone. Yeah, formal reviews have their place, focusing on compensation tied to performance, but there are other kind of reviews. Open that communication. Make yourself more effective as a manager, as an owner, and you'll see a return. Now we're back to number 2. The return on investment should go up when you have that kind of communication. So, Bill, those are 3 ideas that I think sometimes get overlooked and that can pay off for any business. It's not going to magically produce potential employees to do a quality job, but it'll set the stage, and you will see, because this is true, businesses that are known in the community, that are known to be a good place to work, attract people. They attract the best people. So I encourage you to consider it and move forward with it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our last break of the day real quick. Come back. We're going to close out the show, and I hope you'll stay with us. We'll be right back.
Path to the Plate is a research-based education program that helps consumers understand how their food choices impact their health by making the connection to agriculture, learning about how food is grown and produced, and how consumers can make better food choices for themselves and their families. Path to the Plate is all about dispelling myths and misconceptions. Find out more online at pathtotheplate.tamu.edu. We are Texas A&M AgriLife Extension, helping Texans make their lives better. A Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show, with monthly and weekly slots available on Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Second Saturday Divorce Workshop provides unbiased information to help you understand your options and move forward with your life. This divorce workshop is for you if you are contemplating divorce, in the process of divorce, already filed for divorce, or post-divorce. You will explore the emotional, legal, and financial aspects of divorce from professionals who have guided others through divorce. For more information on this divorce workshop, contact SecondSaturdayWoodlands.com or call 832-375-0900.
Don't forget to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play or Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM. That's Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on the computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. A Lone Star Community Radio. Broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're in the final segment of today's program. You're listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and I really sincerely hope you've enjoyed the program today. I'm going to close out today's program with a little thought about solving business problems specifically. We've talked about this a little in the past 8 years that this show's been on, but I came across something that was, I thought, really interesting. You know, a lot of problem solving is just done subconsciously. I mean, somebody comes up to you and says, I need to get off an hour early today. Is that okay? And you give an answer, right? Just believe it or not, hundreds, maybe even thousands of issues like that come up every day in a manager's day-to-day routine, and you have to make quick decisions. And what I'm really talking about is more of major decisions. Do you buy this piece of equipment? Do you open into this new market? Do you take on a new service to provide? All the basic big decisions, which are not made every day typically. But the first place you should start is to thoroughly, and this is where I see people just kind of fall down a lot, is defining the problem, defining the issue. Now, if it's about purchasing something, obviously you know what the issue is and you can do some mathematical work, return on investment. But I'm talking about if you've got a problem. Could be an employee. Define what that problem is. So often we don't focus on what the real problem is. We just, in the case of an employee, well, they're just creating problems. Well, what kind of problems? Why are they doing that? Did we make a bad hire? Did we not train them properly? Do they have something else going on in their life? Is there an opportunity for us to rehabilitate them? Carefully consider what's going on and define exactly what the problem is and who it's impacting. Well, they just have a lot of problems and it bothers some of the employees. That's not good enough. If you're making a major decision, and I happen to believe that hiring, training, working, and eventually terminating or losing a good employee is a major decision for every business, whether you've got one employee or 100 employees or more. At some level, it's a major decision for that person who makes the decision to hire, to fire, and all the in-between. So I think it's very important to take a little bit of time and evaluate exactly what that problem is. You don't have to spend hours or days, but try to find what the real issue is and what's going on. And in the case of the employee example, can I rehabilitate? Can I move them? What is a good solution? And that's the second thing. Make a list, either mentally or on a piece of paper or on your computer, of what the possible solutions are. Don't just fall back on what the first thing that comes in your mind. That's when a leader, a manager, supervisor gets stuck in a rut. It's always that same solution, right? Just fire them. Just buy that new equipment. You can't do that. Sit down for a second, walk around for a second, drive home for a second, whatever. But take time to think about possible solutions. And I encourage you to write them down, to record them so you can look at them maybe for 5-10 seconds, just look at them. I've made better decisions when I can look at them versus trying to roll it through my head, because I distill it out and then I put down, okay, here are my choices. And I think that's the best thing that somebody can do. Then obviously select the best solution and then execute that solution. Take action. Don't put it off. That's just a sidebar, but don't put it off. Put your decision, your solution in action. Well, thank you again to Tim Johnson for taking time out of a busy, busy day for him for joining us this week. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope if you have questions about the radio stations that he represents and what they're doing and all the things he offers on a marketing point of view, you will get in touch with him. And please put a note on your calendar. Next week, 11 a.m., Monday, we'll be here. We'll be here live, which is always exciting. And you can find us right here on irlonestar.com. Look for the video podcast of today's show in a couple days. Just check out the Weekly Business Hour page on Facebook, YouTube, and many, many other social media channels. And until next week, as I always encourage, stay engaged and always keep your focus on what counts in your business. Thanks.